Hey, everybody. Welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here with a whole lot of good friends doing a whole lot of good things in our industry with our community. We've got Andrew Walker coming to us today here in studio. Hey, Andrew, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having us here today, Ben.
It's so good to have you here. And then we got a whole bunch of folks backstage right now. Hit that like button, get in the comments right now. If you're backstage, get in the comments also. Let's get that going so people know that we're on right now. We've got Suzy Chapman, a good friend. We got John Meriweather back there. We got a whole Anthony Gonzales. We got some really young, bright minds as well that we're going to meet as well. But we're here to talk about Elevate Plus and upward mobility and all the cool stuff that's going on. Andrew, first, where in the heck are you right now?
I am in very, very wet New Jersey, getting hammered with rain at the moment.
Really? Okay. Well, I'm just south of you here in DC right now. Been here all week, and it's beautiful actually.
All right.
Here.
Well, good. Yeah. Glad you got the good weather.
Yeah, I did get the good weather. Let's get in the comments here. If you got questions, let us know who you are, where you are. Check in with us here. Farrell Elliott checking in. Hello from California on the way to BAM. That's what's up. Awesome. Very good. Get in the comments also if you have questions about what we're going to talk about today. But Andrew, why don't you tee us up a little bit and let us know, for those who maybe haven't been paying attention for the last couple of years, what is Elevate Plus?
Sure. So Elevate Plus, the full name is Elevate to Even Plus, but we go by Elevate Plus for short. It was something that really a passion project that I did in the wake of George Floyd's murder. Like so many people, just absolutely shocked and appalled by what we all saw. And it was a wake-up call for me to really stop opining and start to act and to do something to try to make a difference. The first thing I did, or one of the first things I did, was to sign up for a class to learn more about racism and systemic inequity in our society, something that my community puts on called Dialogue Circles on Race. And it was just absolutely eye-opening to fully understand. I'm sure I actually don't fully understand yet because I continue to learn, but to get some insight into how systemic racism, systemic inequity is just interwoven in the fabric of our society, and whether we see it or not, it's there. And it was in the course of taking this class and having conversations about what we as individuals can do to disrupt systemic inequity that I had this idea that there's in our society today, in the business world, employers want to hire students with experience, even though they're coming out of college. They expect them to have some kind of practical work experience. But it is underserved students who often lack access to that. Either they don't have the networks to find the opportunities, or so often they're either unpaid internships or underpaid internships, and they simply can't afford to work for something less than what they need to pay their way through life. So my idea was to create an organization that facilitates access to formative paid internships for underserved students. So we got started in, the idea really hit me in the summer of 2020. We became an organization in December of 2020. We're now in our fourth year operating, providing these really great opportunities for at least $17.50 an hour for our interns working with nonprofit partners.
I got questions. So I got to stop.
Yeah, sorry.
I love this so much. Hit that like button, get in the comments here. Let us know what questions you have. But I got to ask you, when you were thinking about this, when you were going from opining to action, why did you think of internships being that missing link or that thing?
Yeah, well,
address?
There's probably the original idea was a conversation I was having with one of the facilitators of this class, who ran at the time a big national nonprofit, and he was saying that as a gesture to start to level the playing field, his organization began to actively source their interns from the communities that they're working in. So they were upsetting the paradigm, which was their internships were being offered to either children of donors or children of board members. And he saw that as perpetuating the problem. Meanwhile, they're providing services to people in the underserved communities. Why not also extend the internships? And I said, literally out loud, that's a really cool thing. But how do these students find those internships? And since so many of these internships are unpaid, somebody should start an organization that pays them to take them. So help them find the jobs and then pays them. And so that's really, it was in that moment that I had this light bulb. And this facilitator has now become a mentor, a good friend, and he's a trustee of the organization. His response was, "That's such a great idea. I want to see you do it and I'll help." And there was really no looking back.
Wow. You know, I love that. Sometimes we need folks also to kind of partner with us along the way, just, you know, to get started and kind of believe in our ideas and help breathe life into them. I love what you're talking about. I remember in college, I studied, you know, I was an Africana Studies minor in college, and we had this class called the Economic Structure of the Black Community, and it talked about social capital and the idea of social capital and the fact that, you know, when you look at who your neighbors are and you look at the folks who are in you, like who are in your worldview, you know, as a young person, you know, that usually can be kind of the extent of what you see your options as. So if you grow up next to doctors and lawyers, you believe that's, you know, and then you can rely on those folks for internships. You can rely on those folks for your first job. When you're really not qualified, you can clerk there, you can spend summers there, you know, whatever, and get access to these opportunities. But if you don't see that in your worldview, you know, you're at a disadvantage. I mean, people talk about also representation in media and things like that, you know, and what we see and what kinds of images and things are portrayed. It's really interesting. And I love that you keyed in on that. You know, another thing that you're talking about that really, you know, resonates with me, you know, because we do so much on the talent acquisition side as well. So many opportunities. I literally just made a post about this 2 days ago on LinkedIn. So many opportunities are not posted. So many internships are not posted. So many jobs are not posted. It's who you know, right? We've heard this forever, right? And how do we leapfrog that in the cycle of frankly systemic racism and systemic classism? You know, it's really great. I love it.
Thanks. Yeah, I totally agree with everything you've said. And so the obvious impetus was this conversation I had, but sort of how we got from primarily focusing on partnerships with nonprofits to create these opportunities for students into Upward Mobility, which is the diversity internship program for the mobility industry, was based on a conversation I had with Bob Rosing, who's now the chairman of the board. I believe he just got promoted from CEO of DwellWorks. And we were talking about the need for more diversity in our internship, and also the fact that he was having trouble finding new sources of talent for our industry. So that's where Upward Mobility was born. But I myself got started in our industry as an intern with what was then called Merrill Lynch Relocation. Spent 2 summers with them. And I didn't know what I was going to do when I got out of college, but they were looking for somebody to fill a job, and they offered me a job. And I wouldn't have known anything about that or our industry if I hadn't had that internship. So it just keeps kind of.
How did you get that internship, Andrew? I got to ask you.
That was funny. I was living in Norwalk, Connecticut at the time, and there was an office park not too far from where I lived. And I literally went door to door, knocking on every single door in the office park, asking if anybody needed summer help. And the only company that said yes was Merrill Lynch.
Said, welcome to peak season, young man. We can probably use some help around here.
Yeah, but you know, and this may be getting a little too reflective or deep here, but I imagine myself as even just a young black man, young black student knocking door to door. I can imagine not getting any organization saying yes.
You know, it's really funny you say that, right? Because I live in a community. We have an HOA, right? And we have a non-solicitation policy in the neighborhood, right? And so you'll see these posts on Nextdoor, you'll see these posts on the Facebook groups and stuff like that, right? And the enforcement of the non-solicitation policy, when it's a white kid raising money for their baseball team, selling or Girl Scout cookies or whatever, versus if it's a person of color who's knocking on doors to cut the grass or sell cable or do whatever. It's very interesting because I never see anybody posting about, hey, tell Bobby to stop knocking on my door trying to sell me wrapping paper for baseball season, right? And I noticed that. So I know, it's funny to talk about race like this, right? It's so funny to talk about this so openly and honestly, but I see a difference in enforcement. I see a difference in the way that people react, to these and to strangers, right?
Yeah.
So it's really super interesting.
It's true. So anyways, so let me just talk a little bit about upward mobility, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Primarily to the relocation industry. Vinny's coming in.
What's up, Vinny?
Great to be with you, Vinny. So upward mobility is, as I said, the diversity internship program for the mobility industry, and we facilitate access to jobs within our industry, and it's the whole spectrum of the industry. It's primarily service providers. We have had some corporates, or at least one corporate so far in the mix, and we've now operated for 3 years. But it's more than just a summer job. We provide additional training and support throughout the summer. So we provide a job readiness class so that all of the interns go through. It's kind of a little very hyper intense boot camp to give them the rundown of what's expected of them as they enter the corporate world. We have some mobility specific training. There's a Relo 101 course that has been very, very well received because these interns are sitting with one company. They're not necessarily seeing the whole spectrum. So this class gives them that exposure so they can see that, we're very wide and diverse in terms of what we do as an industry.
I'm really curious though, where do you find, because we find problems bringing people into the industry that don't have any experience in this industry. Where do you find the Relo 101 class and some of these types of
so it's been created. So Chris Pardo from Plus Relocation created the class and has now run it for 3 years, and it's really, really good. So we have a steering committee. Lisa Johnson is the on point for education. So she's working with organizations to come up with the curriculum and refresh it. And so we've got this Relo 101. Lisa herself, with some colleagues, runs something that's kind of like mobility in the headlines. So how does mobility impact the world, and how are we impacted by world events, and just makes it relevant and relatable. We do something with the oh my gosh, they used to be called YP40. It's the
emerging leaders.
Yes, emerging leaders. We do a networking event with them to sort of connect. And we Anthony Gonzales, who's also a SteerCo member and a board member of Elevate Plus, he has done a couple of times now for us a personal branding and maximizing your effectiveness on LinkedIn class. It's really a master class on how to use LinkedIn. And in the past, we've also done some other types of personal branding classes. So we're trying to really kind of engage this group and give them a sense of their own community, because often they're just one individual working in an organization. We want them to know that they have peers out there as part of their new network.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because they're kind of like this virtual cohort, right? So they're all doing this program at the same time, but in all these different geographies and companies. So yeah, I could see that. So that's neat that you connect them that way. So I want to ask you, because this is such a cool idea, and I remember talking to you about this, over the years and watching this thing develop. And how did it start? What was the first success that you had?
I think the first real success, if we're talking about upward mobility, was how well received it was by our industry. So we currently have 8 companies hosting interns right now, but to date we've had close to 20, and there are far more interested. And so and we're having the CEOs of these organizations come to our briefing sessions to learn about it. So that's been the first sign of success, that there was something that our industry wanted and needed. We've also seen some great success with the interns themselves. So each intern, as a requirement of participating in the program, the hosting company has to pay the student, of course, and they also have to provide a mentor. And the mentor is there to give them guidance and, be a safe person for them to talk to if they have any kind of silly question, like, what do I wear on the first day? Or can I take a lunch? Or the mentor might, and we haven't seen this in upward mobility, but in with the Elevate Plus internships, the mentors have had to give gentle coaching, like, you shouldn't be wearing a baseball cap while you're at work. You need to take that off. And that evolves into a really rich relationship that transcends the day-to-day. And the mentors start to think about, well, what are you looking for in life, in a career, and how can we shape your work experience to help you achieve your goals? And so that seeing those relationships is another sign of success. And we're going to bring on some mentors in a second to talk about that. I think the other great success is with the interns themselves, and we have had great feedback from the interns, several of whom have indicated they intend to join our industry when they finish their studies. And we have had one intern who is still working with the company. She was hired by the company she was interning with, and she's going to come and talk to us in a second. But I think the some of the, short of hiring the intern, which is ultimately our goal, is to create a talent pipeline for our industry, and while also giving really great experiences to these students. But it's really just to open their mind to what this industry is. And 99.9 out of 100 times, people tell you they got into the industry by accident.
Yeah.
And we're changing that by sort of showing people this is a really cool industry to work in, and people now want to work in our industry. So I think that's another cool sign of success.
I love it. I love it. We got people checking in here. Get in the comments. Let us know who you are, where you are, what company you're with. If you've got questions for Andrew and the rest of our guests that are coming up shortly, let us know. Shout out to Amy in St. Louis. She says, what a wonderful program. Thanks for your efforts, Andrew. Awesome. And we got Hosea checking in. What's up, Hosea? We got Brandon in the house. This is great. Paul has had some really cool check-ins here. Awesome. Keep them coming, y'all. Hit that like button, get in here. But Andrew, I got two more questions before we bring out more folks. What has been the biggest challenge for you?
Great question. So one of our principal ideas getting started was to identify a couple of anchor schools that could become our feeder for the entire industry. And you'd think that, no matter where those students are, our industry, we're in the mobility industry, we would get the students to where the jobs are. But we found, and we all know this, times have been kind of tough in our industry over the last few years. Won't get into that, but margins are thin. And while organizations are prepared to pay their intern, we haven't seen as many being willing to relocate them for the summer.
Reload, don't reload, Andrew.
Yeah.
Reload, don't reload. I'll tell you what, man. Except the movers.
Yeah.
Movers will move people.
Yes. Yeah. So that's been a challenge. So we've had to kind of change our approach and find more sources of students, but also we've got John Meriweather coming on. He has by himself found each of the interns that work at Go, because we just haven't had the talent relationships in his market. But he's now been so committed to us. I think we should be helping him in that regard. But I think it's really finding the talent where the talent is needed. Now, a lot of the internships are virtual, and that's awesome. We have a student working with Premia this summer and her managers in the UK. So they're fully virtual. But we found that the best practice is really at least hybrid, where you have an opportunity to put the student in the office. So we do try to find the students where the work is, and that's probably been the hardest part.
All right, last question before we bring in these leaders and talk to them about their experience with these youngsters. How, as a business owner, as a CEO, how do I get involved, and how do I participate with my company if folks are watching this, or for me? How do I participate?
Yeah. So the first step would be to reach out to me, and I can share my email address. We also have a whole upward mobility webpage that's part of the Elevate to Even website, with its own menu at the top of the page for more general information. But if you reach out to me, I'm more than happy to get on a call to talk about the program and answer your questions. But the steps are pretty simple. We have a kickoff each fall where we just open it up to anybody who has expressed any interest, to hear about the program and the timeline and how things work. If a company wants to work with us, we have a memorandum of understanding that we sign, and it's a very simple document that just sort of says, this is what we'll do as Elevate to Even Plus to support you, and then this is what we would expect of you to support your student. Then we start we get a job description from the host company. We circulate that to our talent sourcing partners, get the applications from the students, share those applications with the host partners, and then they make the selection of the student they want to work with. And then the program is typically about 12 weeks, and we ask that students start by really early June, and then don't finish before sort of the first or second week of August, because all of that programming we schedule is during that time frame. But it's and then we're available. Somebody on my team, Carolyn Pirelli, is the chief program officer at Elevate to Even Plus, and she and I together tag team to support all of the host organizations with any questions they have over the summer. So it's not just here's your student, goodbye. We're there the whole way.
Love it. Love it. Get in the comments if you're watching this right now. I want to know what your experience has been with interns. What type of role do they take on? What do they do for you? Has it been successful? Has it not been successful? What are some of the things you've learned? Have you done this in your company? Get in the comments. I want to hear from you. Andrew, how about we bring out some of these leaders that have been a part of this program?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Let's bring out John Meriweather from Go Destination Services and Suzy Chapman from Global LT. Bring them out. All right, I can bring them out. That's fine. Hey, it's all good. I got it. I know how to do this. Hey, Suzy and John, how's it going?
Doing good. How you doing?
Really,
phenomenal.
Really good. Really, really good. Glad to be here.
It's good to see y'all. It's good to see y'all. So I want to hear a little bit from you. Tell me a little bit about your experience with the program and how you've gotten involved. John, let's start with you.
Well, sure thing. Well, thanks again for having me. It's been absolutely awesome to be a part of this program. This is our third year as a host employer for Upward Mobility, and we've had just an extraordinary experience. As you've heard, I was backstage listening to Andrew, and as you've heard, the program has been thoughtfully and thoroughly crafted. I love seeing his vision come to life every year, and we just really look forward to it every year. As I mentioned, this is our third year. Our first year we had Jimmy, and our interns have been so awesome. They don't even need a last name. They don't, first name basis. So we had Jimmy the first year, and he gravitated towards relationship management throughout the entire process here at Go. Second year we had Anthony. He was awesome as well. He gravitated more towards destination service accounting. And this third year we have two. Gorleen and Ravi, in that same order, HR and operations. So it's really just been a privilege to participate. We look forward to it every year, and our commitment is endless. We'll be a part of the program every year, year after year.
John, that's really cool. How did you figure out where they all kind of fit in, like what role they would take?
Yeah, well, to start off, we give an introduction to the industry. We talk about our place as a destination service provider within the industry. And then they spend their first, let's say, chapter going between all the departments. All of our internships, our physical interns are all here at the corporate office here in Carmel, Indiana. So they spend time in each department, and they get a chance to see, everything firsthand. And then as things sort of naturally shake out, they start to gravitate towards that. So that's one way. The other thing is we do set goals at the beginning of the internship. Of course, we look at their school and their major. We ask them what they want to get from their internship. And take someone like Gerline, for instance. She's a HR major, and so it's a natural fit that we put her with our HR folks and let her work on all things HR.
I got a question for you, and we got people checking in. Get in the comments here. Let us know what your thoughts are. Have you worked with interns? What has been your experience? I'd love to hear kind of a little bit about the contributions as well. We have this notion or concept, maybe it's an antiquated concept of interns, and getting the coffee or doing the grunt work around the office or whatever, and are interns actually able to make an impact in a business?
100%. We've had interns every year since we've been around as a company. We've never embraced that philosophy of getting the Starbucks, and making the donut runs. We like to get our interns involved in every aspect of the company. You can see interns on our leadership meetings, on our relationship management meetings, and our dashboard meetings with customers. They've been involved with proposals and presentations. And to be quite candid, they've been involved in some closed door, selectively, of course, some closed door meetings as well. We think we owe that to them because of all the interns that I've interviewed, they all typically say the same thing. I want real world experience. So that's been our philosophy, and I think it's served us well. Another benefit for us as a company, I can say, some of our offerings as an organization is come from interns, right? I remember when we first started using many years ago, Slack. That came from an intern many years ago. So yeah, they definitely make an impact, a tangible impact.
Love it. Love it. Suzy, what's been your experience with the program?
So first of all, I have to do a shout out to John here, because the way I came to the program is John was invited to be a part of the program, and my organization at the time I worked for Serva had also been invited, but it hadn't made it to me. And John called me and was like, Suzy, you need to be a part of this program, find a way. So I did. So thank you, John. The first year of my relationship with Upward Mobility, I was at Serva, so I fit right into that, the mix of as a vendor in the global mobility space, providing opportunities through Andrew's vision for interns. It was a growing year, so we had some fun finding students in schools and all the things that Andrew referred to previously. What we ended up doing at Serva is we had already selected and started 2 interns that agreed to be a part of the program, and so we backed them in, and that was a really interesting experience. Andrew and his team were kind in offering me that opportunity to make sure that I could be a part of it and Serva could be a part of it. Those 2 students got so much out of it. One of them to this day keeps in touch with me. He's just over the moon about what a great experience it was, learning and engaging and participating. I was a part of the group with Andrew. I was a part of a couple of his committees. I also mentored the students. After the first summer, I left the RMC space and I'm now on the corporate side, and Andrew was kind enough to let me stay and continue to play. So I had stayed and continued to play, and one of the ways
we're keeping you working. Don't sell yourself short.
One of the ways that he's allowed me to continue to play or work, depending on point of view, is I join the meetings and I'm a part of planning and continuing to smooth out the edges of the program as it continues to grow. But I also have the privilege of doing a training session for all of the mentors. Every company that participates has to commit to having a mentor. And then I do a session with them where I talk about what it is to mentor a student in 2023 or 2024 and beyond. And partly that's important, and I mean this with the deepest love and affection for all of us watching this show and on this show. Many of us have been in it for a minute. And these students are coming out of school now. They're coming out of school having gone through COVID, graduating virtually, taking, maybe the first year of school virtually. They don't have a baseline of corporate graces. And so the mentors have that obligation to them to teach them how to behave in a corporate environment, including things, I laugh every time I say it, but it's real, responding to meeting invitations and then showing up. So that's been my role, along with just being a cheerleader and a supporter for the program, because I do really deeply believe in it.
Yeah, I do half of that. I usually don't respond to the invitation. I just show up, and so I could probably use some mentorship, Suzy. So I'm here. I'm available. Send me a calendar. Yeah, we got people in the comments here. Get in the comments here. We got Mel checking in from DC. What's up, Mel? Hope I see you while I'm out here. Jana checking in late in time to share my support. Yeah, it's an awesome cause for sure. That's great. We got Cliff Bierman checking in from Atlanta. Thanks for sharing the organization with me. I was unaware of it until now. Well, now you know, Cliff. Let's get you involved. Vinny saying what's up to Suzy and John, incredible leaders on the show today. Yeah, Vinny, thank you. Paula says, John, congrats on bringing your son into the relocation business. Hashtag legacy. What's that like, John? I got to ask you. What's that? I saw your post on LinkedIn. What's that like working shoulder to shoulder with your son?
You know, it's absolutely amazing. When you have a private organization like ours, with me as the founder, and then he's my first son, you always kind of have that idea. Okay, is the son going to join the family business? So I had two philosophies about that: come right out of Ball State and join the company, or take a couple years, go work someplace else, see what that organization is like, and then come back. So the latter turned out to be the case. He went out for a couple of years at a logistics company and experienced another organization, and then came back and brought some of those concepts, philosophy, some of the molding. I didn't have to do as much. I were molded in a different. Fortunately, it aligned with some of our philosophies. But short answer, it's been absolutely great. We're still early on. I've been impressed. To be quite honest, I didn't send him a link to this, so I don't think he's listening. It probably is a little emotional. I keep it tamped down, so I don't. He came in yesterday and went over some numbers with me, and the whole time I'm just thinking, that's my boy. but yeah, it's been great. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, no, that's a blessing. That's got to be really cool. And it's something you've built, and you created it go, and then to have your son there taking part of that. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Nan Park checking in. DC Love and Relo back to back 2 days in a row. We got a third day tomorrow. Nan, we'll be at work. We'll be working tomorrow. John, put him to work and protect him from this madness. Yeah, might be the first employee you can whack upside the head too if you need to. Anyway, I digress here. Suzy, you were talking about mentoring though, the interns, right? And I've had this experience too, right? We brought in several interns to Glomo. Some of them have turned into full-time employees and just been phenomenal. In fact, Jill, one of our senior recruiters, now was just relocated to Texas to join headquarters here from Connecticut. Was a real success story. Really proud of her. But what are some of the areas or maybe advice you'd give for folks who are bringing in interns into their organization? Maybe some of the areas maybe the gaps, the things that we should focus on to make sure that they're successful.
So success. Mentoring the mentors or advice for the mentors to help enable the intern success. Before that, I think the first thing is please use upward mobility for your interns, but whether you do or not, make sure all your interns have a mentor because they really do need that guide. There's this whole argument about whether or not doing something for good is selfish or selfless. Being a mentor is totally selfish. It's a gift that you give yourself by being able to engage with somebody who's young and excited and just starting out, and they're not jaded and crabby like so many of us get.
Like the rest of us.
Like the rest of us, right? It's so uplifting. So the first piece is make sure that you have a mentor, volunteer to be a mentor, be a part of doing it. Really, I think it's a couple of things. One of the things I think is important to think about is what do you wish somebody told you when you were first entering the corporate space? Like what did you have to learn by walking headfirst into a brick wall or being embarrassed? And kind of going back to those moments and offering the teachings. So much of being in these work environments, virtual or not, really corporate and uptight or not, there's the nuance, there's the dynamic that's under the surface in your company that because you've been through it. But how does somebody learn what that nuance is? And so it's your obligation to teach them look for this or think about this, or, oh no, the person sent you this email, but that's not really what they meant. What they really meant was over here. And helping them to understand that becomes a skill for them that they can bring forward either when they come back and work for you full time or when they go to their next internship or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's really great. And I love this question that you kind of you threw out there. And I want to put it out to everybody. What do you wish somebody would have told you when you started your career? What mentorship? What did you maybe have to learn the hard way through bumping your head on those walls a couple times? Put that in there. I do want to. I'm actually going to ask you. I'm going to turn that question around on you, Suzy, and then you, John, and maybe even you, Andrew, too. While I got you here, I got a captive audience. I can do this. What's one thing as a young professional, Suzy, that maybe you wish somebody would have told you?
I don't think you'll be in the least bit surprised, Ben, to hear me say, I sometimes blame it on the fact that I'm a New Yorker, but I say what I think, and I struggle having a filter. And when you're in a true corporate environment, you got to apply the filter and you have to think twice before you say it. And I had to be taught that, and it had to be an actual lesson. And so I wish somebody had helped me out a little bit with that earlier on, so I wouldn't have so often had the foot in the mouth syndrome.
Oh my gosh, I so relate. Still doing it. Hey, John, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you wish somebody would have told you when you started your career, some mentorship?
Well, I kind of wish they would have talked to Andrew some number of years ago, because Andrew's vision for this program, as you can see, is absolutely amazing. One of the things that he talks about in laying out the program is the value of goal setting. So sitting down with the intern and just working through a set of goals, what they want to get out of it, so that you know what those success indicators look like. So I kind of wish someone would have talk to Andrew and sat down with me and said, okay, John, where do you want to go with your career? And let's talk about how we get there. Let's check in a couple of weeks or months and see how we're doing. I think that would have been phenomenal.
Where do you want to go? No pun intended here, John. I see what you're doing there. That's subliminal advertising.
Yeah, you know.
Andrew, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yeah, I was thinking, what do I wish? I'll tell you, because I was an intern. I don't think we called it an internship. I think it was a summer job working for a company at the time, but clearly it was an internship. I think it was a great place to work. It was so much fun, and we goofed around constantly, but I didn't always know where the boundaries lie. And I would need somebody to kind of pull me aside and say, okay, Andrew, in a corporate setting, you've probably gone a little bit too far. And to take a step back from that is just understanding that you're still yourself, you can still have fun, but the boundaries are a little bit different in the corporate environment. And that's something that we do try to explain in our job readiness class.
Yeah. You don't know that stove's hot till you touch it sometimes, and you gotta do it and cross the boundary and know that there was one. That's really good. John, now this is your third generation of interns. It sounds like your third year of interns. What have you learned through the process of this, maybe to make them successful, or how have you changed your approach?
Well, I'd say one of the things that I get a chance to learn every year in various ways, but in particular with our interns, because we're taking someone who typically knows nothing about our industry and we are introducing that to them. So I really have another opportunity to realize how cool our industry is. It is remarkable to see their eyes light up when describing our industry, and when they can see the care and the empathy and the expertise and the global nature of our relocation industry. We talked about earlier that it's not something they're taught in school, right? There's no class for it. They in many cases didn't know that it was a career. So it's really cool to be able to see their eyes light up when talking about it. And then what's really neat is for them to start to visualize themselves in key parts of the relocation process, not just destination service, but as we explore the full chain, it's really neat to start to see them visualize themselves. So I think that's one of the great takeaways.
Yeah, especially in your business, which is global, right? I mean, to be able to kind of like show people the world through the lens of your business it's got to be pretty cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
One of the comments here from Will Joyce here is, it's better to do 2 to 3 projects all the way through and precisely than 7 to 8 halfway and rushed. That was the advice he wished he would have gotten early on. That's good stuff. Hey, you know what? We've talked a lot about these mentees, these interns. I'd like to maybe excuse y'all for a second and just bring some of them in and hear about their experiences. What do you say?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, sounds good. I will see y'all later. Put you backstage there, Suzy and John, and we're gonna bring out Brandon, Anaya, and Charlize Young. Hey, y'all, how's it going?
Hi, so nice to be
Hello.
here.
Hey, it's good to have you. And Charlize, where are you in the world right now?
I'm in New Jersey,
Jersey. Whereabouts in Jersey?
so North Jersey.
North Jersey. I grew up in White
Yeah.
Plains, so
Oh,
spent on New
okay.
Jersey all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, my aunt and uncle live there, so I was there over the weekend.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Cool. And Brandon, where in the world are you?
I'm also in Jersey, Jersey City.
What's up with this Jersey connection,
Hey,
man?
you
We got
know
3
what? I
Jersey.
got to bring my crew, and just to
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that when I invited them into the show where they are. But to be
He
clear,
says the
we have
geography's
interns
hard.
all
You're
over
just
the
doing
country.
Jersey all the time.
Yeah, keep Jersey strong right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want to talk a little bit to both of you here. And Brandon, I'm going to actually start with you for a minute here. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you were introduced to the program and what maybe attracted you to the opportunity?
Thank you. So, first of all, thank you, Ben, for having me on the show, and shout out to Andrew for this opportunity. I found out about Elevate Plus through my school at St. Peter's University, going to their career center and just asking around like what kind of career opportunities or internships they have available. And I talked to one of the ladies there, and she got me connected with Andrew, and I was interested in business. So I fell into the global mobility uh, industry. We're going for Weichert. I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into, but I'm glad that I came across it, and I applied to the business analyst role at Weichert Workforce Mobility. So we do global talent relocation, and I've really appreciated this opportunity that I have. I started I have a background in environmentalism, so I'm a graduate student. I did my undergrad in environmental studies, and they saw that, and they needed my help with coming up with a strategy to help reduce their carbon emissions. So it's been full circle for me, and I feel
Wow.
very grateful to have this opportunity and feel like I'm contributing to the greater good of society.
You're already doing better than half the people in this industry because you're actually applying your field of study to what you're doing. So yeah, I was an English major. My dad says, "What do you do?" I said, "I talk a lot." You know, I don't know what to tell you, Dad. Had you seen all those yellow signs in people's yards in New Jersey, those Weichert signs before? Had you at least heard of the brand before you joined?
You know, I saw the yellow signs in front of the lawns. I wasn't too familiar with it. I knew it was a big company, so that probably what drew me to the internship originally. But I had no idea of what they do. I knew they're a realtor company, but so Workforce Mobility is actually a subsidiary of Weicker Realtors. So yeah, I had no clue of what global mobility was, but I'm glad that I stumbled upon it.
Yeah, awesome, Brandon. And Charlize, tell me a little bit about the internship you received.
Yeah, so I'm the branding and communications intern at Cardis. So it's super fun because being in the marketing industry, you really get to learn about relocation and the company as a whole. And I kind of have a holistic view to everything that we do. And that's why I appreciate being in upward mobility, because it connects me to people in different parts of the relocation process and kind of allows me to broaden my skill set. And originally, like Brandon, I kind of fell into this role as well. I was looking for a summer internship because I had done social media and PR at my college. And I saw this internship for a Cardis relocation consultant. And I was like, you know what? Why not? I like people. I like to talk. So I was like, I'll just give it a shot. And when I met with our HR person, she's like, similar to Brandon, I noticed that you have a marketing background and that you're interested in social media. And they said, we just so happen to have an opening on our marketing team. So I ended up, interviewing with them and hiring, with them to be their summer intern through Upward Mobility. And that's kind of how I got involved.
That's awesome. And Andrew, I can tell Relo 101 is working because they're all on topic here with the I fell into relocation. Everyone knows their talking points here. So you're definitely part of the industry, which good news is you're going to be accepted and loved by many. Bad news is you can't leave. So just I hope you love it. Tell me about some of the projects you're working on, Charlize, at Cardis now.
Yeah, it's a lot of really great stuff. At Cardis, we really are the thought leader of the industry, I like to say. So it's a lot of blogs, white papers, and a lot of content just talking about the trends that are going on in the industry. We released an Olympics blog talking about some of the trends throughout different parts of the world, whether that's the APAC region, the EMEA region, and really just kind of thinking about how we can move the whole person. That's one of our podcast episodes, and making sure that there is DEI and empathy kind of infused throughout the entire reload process. And I take that approach even in social posts that I do or blogs that I write.
Yeah, that's really great because I mean, one of the things I think our industry has suffered from is I think we do have a marketing problem. We talk about how our services sometimes get commoditized, how we sometimes become the victim of procurement and pricing exercises. And I think sometimes because of the way that we position ourselves and that we allow our customers to position us. So I think marketing is actually very, very important right now. So it's really cool that you got to apply that. And that's neat. So you have a podcast. I haven't gotten an invitation yet, Charlize. Now that you're a big time decision maker here and an influencer and a thought leader in the industry, I mean, you might want to look me up sometime. That's all I'm saying.
I have to say, just being here, I feel honored. I was watching your episode with Lisa that you did a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
So I just feel happy to be sitting here.
Yeah, Lisa's phenomenal. We love Lisa Johnson. I've known her for a long time. And she actually gave me one of my first opportunities to speak in this industry on a boat in the Boston Harbor, actually, one time. And you don't ever forget those people who give you kind of that first opportunity in your career. So make sure you pay it forward, I would say. That's all.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, super cool.
And one thing I want to hype Charlize even more because first of all, she kind of went very quickly through the fact that she was in our program last year and was so successful in it. Cardis has said, we want to keep you working here. So she's a success story for us. But also, as you can tell, she presents very well, as does Brandon. But we have brought Charlize in. She was on with Suzy doing the Train the Mentor class, giving the interns perspective on that. So we're really grateful to have Charlize in the program.
That's awesome. It was amazing to be able to speak kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum this time and really just connect with more amazing interns who are, in the same boat as I am.
Charlize, I want to ask you a question here, and Brandon, I'm going to ask you the same. What advice would you give to companies who are considering bringing on interns, in order to make it successful and fruitful for both parties? What would you say?
That's a big question. I would start off by saying, really make the experience beneficial for the intern, right? And the more that you get them involved, the more they're going to want to be involved in the company. The more they're going to put their hard work into it. I remember when I first started, my boss, she gave me a huge project from the start. And it made me think like, wow, they really want me to be here. I really want to try my best and give my best. But if they're feeling like they're going on those, for lack of a better word, coffee runs, right? They're not really going to want to try their best. So really give them meaningful work. And then I'd also say just be there and be open for them to ask any questions. A lot of times people limit themselves and say, you can ask me a question if you have problems with tech or with your job, but really just being open to learning about them as a person and giving them the opportunity to come with their own questions.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point, because I think we often do start with a job description, or we start with, where's the gap? Where can we use some help? But what I'm hearing from Charlize, what I'm hearing from Brandon, and what I've heard from John when he kind of described the successes he had, was he looked at the person, at the talent, and said, what's your passion? Where's your curiosity? And then taking that and saying, how can we plug that in and actually start to add value to our organization? Because I think if we have an open mind about it, we might be able to unlock a whole lot more value in the relationship.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Cool. And Brandon, I'm gonna ask you the same thing. What maybe have you learned through the process, and maybe what advice would you give to either other interns or to companies looking to these interns?
My advice to the company is definitely, like you guys said, flexibility. I applied to the role as a business analyst, but I'm doing something related to the environment. So just having those opportunities, asking them like, what are you interested in, and being able to work with them and fulfill what experiences they're trying to gain. Because I find that it can be difficult going into the workforce when you have that lack of experience. So you're trying to build up your resume or get that experience you need in order to enter the workforce. So any type of projects that you can work on outside of your specific role that you've applied for or that you got, separate from your day-to-day responsibilities, other projects that you can work on to expand your portfolio, anything like that could be very helpful.
Brandon, I gotta ask because I'm curious. How does one go about trying to measure the carbon impact of a relocation program? I mean, already you both of you are so much smarter than I am because Brandon's over here measuring the immeasurable, and I didn't know what a white paper was till I was 30 years old. It turns out it's just the color of the piece of paper that the thing is written on, which is bizarre to me. So I'm you guys are so far ahead of me already. So Brandon, how do you endeavor to do that?
So I could go all day about this. So
You
please
got 1 minute.
stop. Yeah, stop me if I go too far. And so there's we call them scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions. Scope 1 is all of your eternal, like your utility bills, all of the energy that you're consuming in order to run your business or operations. Scope 2 is whatever energy that you're purchasing that isn't exactly where your office is located. Maybe it's from like your utility company. You're purchasing that, which is burning either fossil fuels or like natural gas. So whatever that energy is coming from. So it's a lot of calculating, talking to landlords, calculating the utility bills and how much energy we're consuming. And then scope 3, that's where it gets a little tricky. That's with your suppliers. So right now, Weichert is working with our third-party suppliers to help to kind of get them to collaborate with each other and with us to give us insight on their scope 1 and scope 2.
Yeah.
So like
Well,
their
that sounds like a
scope 1
big,
and scope 2 is
yeah.
our scope 3.
Sounds like a big job. There's a lot of suppliers, obviously, in the supply chain.
Yeah.
Charlize, Brandon, this is amazing. I really appreciate y'all sharing your story and your experience and inspiring us to, bring more interns in. We do need to improve that talent pipeline into the business. And I think there's a lot of really great talent out there that we can give opportunities to. And you're just a couple of examples.
And they are absolutely great examples. Not all of our interns are phenomenal. I mean, and I'm so impressed by all of them. So these guys are awesome. But I could have picked any of the 9 interns we have this summer, and they all would have been very impressive. So thank you both for representing your peers so well today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much. And let's connect on LinkedIn. Let's stay in touch and look forward to talking to you again soon. I'm going to excuse y'all and I'm going to bring in Anthony Gonzales here, the closer, Andrew. Okay. The last leg of the relay. Okay. In Olympic terms here. Anthony, it's good to see you, my friend.
My brother, what's going on? It's really good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, this is awesome. Anthony, tell us a little bit about your experience with the program.
Sure. Yeah, I saw what Andrew was doing a few years back, and I just hit him up on LinkedIn. I'm passionate about giving back, and I think there's a lot of alignment with my background and opportunities that I may not have had when I was coming up. And so Andrew welcomed me on. I started hustling for them, putting in work, trying to bring on new organizations, nonprofits within the West Coast because we're pretty heavy on the East Coast. And I don't know, a few months into it, Andrew asked if I wanted to join the board, which I was kind of like, whoa, we had like people that had been the mayor of New Jersey on there, like just these kind of, these profiles. So I was like, had a little imposter syndrome, talked to him about it. I was like, you know what, let's do it. And just, been highly involved in really trying to grow our network, from an organization perspective, as well as putting on our first peer-to-peer fundraiser that we did starting late last year. And now moving into another one. And then, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, Andrew hit me up again and said, would I want to be the vice chair of the board? So that's where I'm sitting at today, and it's been really incredible, and it's so amazing to see these people talking today. You know, not all the time am I getting the opportunity to meet the folks that we're supporting. So it was just an absolute pleasure to hear them speak and see that the success, you know, that we've been able to drive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been watching what you're doing, and you're a founder in your own right and doing some incredible things. And I know you're super busy, but why was this so important to you and so close to your heart?
Yeah, just like I said, you know, I grew up, not with a ton of money, right? I'm brown myself, and I just didn't have opportunities. You know, I didn't have any internships, and I was working in the summertime to kind of, help with the family. So that was something that was personal to me. And so, yeah, I think it was also just I really believed in Andrew, in the mission, as someone that I know, and other people that are involved that I knew as well. So yeah, it just all kind of came together.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned that you've been hustling for this program and working so hard, and you have such a high motor, and hustle is a great word to use for it. How can people get involved, and what would you encourage people to do? Kind of what's that call to action and steps that we can take practically?
Yeah, I mean, there's, donate any time out of the year for sure. That's always super helpful. But if you want to get involved, like Andrew offered, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about the program and how you can really, be involved in kind of what our mission is. But more importantly, we have peer-to-peer fundraiser that's coming up. It's called Miles of Impact. So it's going to be for the entire month of September. We're trying to collectively move 10,000 miles, and that can be running, walking, jogging, swimming. It could be someone that might row. We even have it broken down if maybe you do yoga or a Zumba class, like, if you do an hour of that, what type of miles to log. So we really want it to be inclusive with people that are just, looking to move and to help, pretty much this will go straight to funding an intern for the next season. So it's that quick, like, where the funds will be placed to help with build some formidable work experience for underrepresented youth.
What if I drive to work?
Then you could just donate.
I'll just donate. Okay. Yeah. I'll just donate. All right. That's donate. Yeah. Got it. All right. Sounds good. No, I love this idea. It's really cool. So September, this is coming up. So where can people sign up for this?
Yeah. So it's givesignup.org/Elevate Plus spelled out. I dropped it in the link or the comments to the LinkedIn post about this show, so it's in there. But it's givesignup.org/Elevate Plus. And again, it's going to be starting September 1st throughout the entire month. And we're just aiming for each person to raise $250, by running themselves, donating themselves, and more importantly, branching out into other networks that we might not have exposure to today. And so really a huge thing to do is if you're part of an organization, is if you can get, maybe form a team with your company, that could really help scale this thing. So we're really hoping to have more teams this year than we did last time. So if you're listening to this, you feel like you want to kind of rally the troops within your own organization, we love that. Or just sign up yourself, maybe get your friends to join with you.
I got to get your own
landing page.
If they just 1 sec, Julie Avery last year, who works for Genentech, she was a champion team builder last year, and she did a really phenomenal job for our first one of these. So we need more Julies out there. So sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we have Robert Brzezowski with Quest Relocation Group has already formed a team. So we got some people that have joined this pretty early that are already registered and ready to hit the pavement or the water or whatever it is come September 1st.
Yeah, I'm just putting some shout outs here in the comments here.
And the winner gets a swag bag. Dale Klein was the winner of the swag bag last year. So she logged the most miles, and I can't remember offhand, but she crushed everyone with her athletic pursuits.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And Andrew, help us understand, where does the money go and how does it support the mission?
So over 95% of the money that we get through financial support donations goes to fund the wages of our interns working with nonprofit organizations. So that's a real win-win-win. We're benefiting the students, we're benefiting the nonprofits because they don't have the resources to pay their interns, and we're benefiting the communities in which they operate. So we have partnerships with over 50 nonprofit organizations where we've been placing our interns so far. To date, we've placed 150 interns.
Wow.
And we funded, for nonprofit partners, we provide funding for the interns' wages. For for-profit partners, they self-fund the wages. But the vast majority goes into funding that program. We do have some overhead. We have one part-time employee and things like our Zoom bill or Gmail bills, things like that. But our overhead is very, very low. It's really going directly into the populations we're serving.
I love it. I love it. I know we're coming up on our time here, but I want to ask each of you maybe to just kind of leave us maybe with a final thought, final word. Anthony, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I would just say that sometimes giving back is not the sexiest subject. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's because I see that the LinkedIn algorithm's not giving us a lot of love when we're doing these posts, right? It's just kind of sitting there. So as much as you can talk about it now that you know about it and try to bring in some of your network, and we could really use the support. So we appreciate you and we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, and Anthony, anytime that you have a post or something like that you want us to support, our team at Glomos, happy to do that. So just shoot me a DM or whatever, make sure I see it, and we're all over it.
Cool. Oh, and I can see the stats. Just to not to beat the dead horse on that one, but we have literally thousands of people viewing our posts, but in the 10s and 20s and 30s liking our posts. So he nailed it. Like, that's the best thing you can do on an ongoing basis, is just show your love through likes. But also, of course, we would love for you to participate in this Miles of Impact event. We can't do it without the financial support of the people in the communities that we're working. And of course, the mobility community is a huge part of that. So we would love to have you join us.
Yeah, I love it. Adam, can you put the link in there? And Anthony, maybe also make sure the link's in there for the folks that are watching on, I think, YouTube, Paul is saying, and also on...
I've tried to load it, but for whatever reason, YouTube isn't letting me post the link.
Oh, it's not.
But we can
haters gonna hate. It's all right though. We're gonna keep it moving though. You're gonna keep it moving. No, this is awesome. I love what y'all are doing. I think this access to opportunity is one of the greatest gifts that we can give, right? And but I think, like Suzy said, it's also a selfish pursuit in some ways, because it feels so good, to talk to people that are so on fire, to learn and to go places, and then we learn so much. I know through my internships that we've had, the ideas that they bring are unforeseeable. Like, you don't know what you're going to get, and then all of a sudden somebody comes up with a crazy idea, like Slack, and you're like, oh yeah, maybe we should use Slack, and then all of a sudden you're on Slack and you're moving so much faster in your organization. So this is great. Shout out to everybody we had on today. I really appreciate you, and shout out to everybody that watched today and supported. Hit that like button, comment, get the word out there. Anthony and Andrew, thank you so much for the work.
Thank you, Ben. Really appreciate it.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.